Remember yesterday I mentioned that Joe Biden was considering two executive orders related to gun violence? Well, here's an inside look for you. 64 members of Congress penned a letter to Joe Biden begging him to execute this executive order. Want to know more? Sit by and watch this episode of Guns and Gadgets. Today's episode is brought to you by the USCCA. The U.S. Concealed Carry Association helps responsible Americans like us prepare for what happens before, during, and after an act of lawful self-defense. USCCA members get life-saving education, expert training, plus self-defense liability insurance. Plus, a USCCA membership is always risk-free with their 100% money-back bulletproof guarantee. Membership is truly an investment worth exploring. Click the link in the description. It's uscca.com/GNG right now to activate your USCCA membership. It's what I use for my family, and if you check it out, you'll probably like it as well. So let's get into this letter by 64 members of Congress begging and pleading the king to stop importation of items into the kingdom. I'm going to put the letter here on screen, and you can see it was penned yesterday, March 25th. It says, "Dear President Biden, we write to respectfully request that you issue an executive order banning the importation of assault weapons, including semi-automatic rifles and high-capacity magazines, into the United States from abroad. As our nation battles the health and economic crisis created by the COVID-19 pandemic, we simultaneously must combat the persistent and rising violence caused by access to dangerous firearms. America has suffered 7 mass killings in this year alone, including in Atlanta last week and in Boulder just 3 days ago, where 10 victims tragically lost their lives. In 2020 alone, as the COVID-19 pandemic raged, at least 19,379 people needlessly lost their lives due to gun violence, a 25% increase from 2019. On the last day of the year alone, at least 20 people were shot and killed in the United States. These tragedies have struck cities and towns across the nation, many of which are experiencing record levels of gun violence. Given the foregoing public health and safety crisis, we ask that you issue an executive order to halt the importation of assault weapons, pursuant to the Gun Control Act of 1968, including semi-automatic rifles and high-capacity magazines. Studies demonstrate that both assault weapons and high-capacity magazines contribute greatly to the lethality of gun violence. Banning the import of these weapons will lessen the devastating impact of gun violence in communities across our nation. We appreciate your commitment to taking executive action to ban the importation of these weapons into the U.S. and urge you to take this life-saving action with the expediency this situation demands. Thank you for your consideration and efforts to ensure every American is safe. Sincerely," and these are the 64 members of Congress who have just begged the king to violate the Constitution of the United States and the Second Amendment, the same document they have sworn and taken an oath to uphold and defend. If any of these congressmen and women belong to you in your state, I highly suggest you reach out to them and let them know that you are very, very upset at their effort to beg the king to violate the Constitution and your God-given rights. Now, let's talk about this real quick. First off, assault weapon and high-capacity magazine are coined terms. I understand there are a lot of new people in the gun community and are maybe interested in learning the truth behind this stuff. The New York Times coined the term assault weapon. There's no such thing. Items don't assault people on their own. It's the criminal mind behind that item, or the law-abiding citizen who is forced to defend themselves due to somebody with a criminal intent. And that is the problem. And also, standard capacity magazines is what they are. They're standard for that weapon. They're not high capacity. And a lot of these statistics that have gone on the increase the last year to year and a half are a direct, has nothing to do with COVID-19. They're a direct result of the defund the police and minimize the amount of patrols, and at the same time catch and release when we do catch criminals. Let me explain. If you don't have police out there enforcing the law and catching these criminals, well, then they continue to commit crime because they feel like they're uncatchable, right? Untouchable. So crime will go up. Also, when you have the court side, the DAs and the judges who don't get tough on crime, then they realize that, hey, you know what? If I rob this store, I'm gonna spend 3 days in the clink and maybe have to pay a $100 fine, but that's okay. I'll get out and rob and steal and do whatever. Crime and criminals, you can't stop them with an executive order. Criminals don't follow the law. That's why they're called criminals. For some reason, congressmen and women use that to pull the smoke over your and pull the wool over your eyes and put up a smoke screen. Criminals are the problem, not the law-abiding. My ability to purchase something that was imported into the United States as a law-abiding citizen doesn't cause crime to go up. It's the criminals who will still get guns no matter how bad you don't want them to, is if you don't enforce the law. If they keep getting slaps on the wrist and keep going out there, if you're not a parent, you're rewarding that activity, and they will actually keep doing it and increase that behavior. So this is the letter that 64 members of Congress sent to Joe Biden yesterday, and I told you that he was considering 2 executive orders. This is the one of the 2 that I was talking about. He is considering a ban on imports, and it's probably coming. I think it's coming. He's trying to get all his ducks in a row from what I hear, but I hear that it's coming. So let's call these people out. Let's make sure that they know that we know. And when you do contact these clowns, be somewhat respectful. You don't have to be like you're their servant because it's the opposite way around. They work for you, but don't put yourself on a list. So this is what's going on. They're begging for the king to violate the rights of the peons in the kingdom, and I thought that you all should know about this. Please pass this along. Everybody who's a gun owner needs to know this. Everybody who's a gun owner needs to respond to these clowns. I'll have a link down below so you can find out who your representative is. It always gives their contact information as well. And you can even punch in the names of these people down in that website I'm going to put down there in Congress, and it'll tell you how to get a hold of them as well. I'm not going to put 64 different links. You can type in the name of these clowns and it'll pop up. But I figured I'd let you know, bright and early, they just never ever stop, which makes it more important for us to always stay vigilant. That's why I always say, be safe, stay vigilant, carry a weapon, because the attacks never stop coming. If you want to stay in the know about what's going on, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent, no matter where it happens in the country, please consider subscribing to Guns and Gadgets. Join this growing freedom family. You being part of this makes our voice stronger, and that's what the politicians hate, is they don't want the truth out there, especially to the gun ownership. All right, guys and gals, I will see you on the next one. Be safe, everybody.